You know, there's that old saying, may you live in interesting times. Well, I think it's safe to say we're officially there. For decades, it felt like one global power was setting all the rules. But that era, it's over. We're in the middle of a massive, tectonic shift, a rivalry that's really going to define our century. This is that story, the endgame, between the established eagle and the rising dragon. To really get what's happening, you have to stop thinking about just military power. The world today is way more like a giant chessboard. The real game is being played with economic strategy, with tech, with diplomatic influence. Every single move is calculated, and the stakes, well, they couldn't be higher. What we're watching is this incredibly sophisticated duel of strategy and ambition between the old guard and a very, very serious new challenger. So let's start with the reigning champion, the eagle. That's the United States, of course. For most of the last century, its power seemed totally unshakable. But here's the thing about empires. They don't last forever. And today, the eagle is showing some serious signs of strain, facing huge challenges not just from the outside, but maybe more importantly, from within. And you know, history kind of gives us a playbook for this. Some analysts talk about a 7-stage pattern of imperial collapse. If you look at this chart, you see the core ingredients. Rome had overextension and corruption. The British Empire had massive war debts, and its industries started to decline. See a pattern here? The sources we're looking at point out that the US is facing a pretty similar mix: incredibly expensive wars, deep political polarization, and the rise of a powerful new rival. And this is what that internal decay looks like up close. For 40 years, 4 decades, the average American worker hasn't really gotten a raise, while a tiny elite has become unbelievably wealthy. This creates this widespread feeling that the whole system is rigged by what some call a parasitical elite. It leads to a sense of powerlessness, what some critics have even described as a polite dictatorship, where you have the illusion of choice, but not the real thing. You add to that what analysts call macro corruption, like a $1 trillion defense budget that somehow can't produce enough basic artillery, and you end up with a society that has dangerously low trust in its own institutions. Okay, so let's flip the chessboard over. While the eagle is busy wrestling with its own problems, a challenger has been quietly and strategically making its moves. The dragon, China, isn't just trying to play the old game better. No, it's proposing an entirely new blueprint for how the world should be run. And this quote from Xi Jinping, this is pretty much everything you need to know to understand China's strategy. While the West has often focused on military alliances and promoting its values, China's approach is fundamentally economic. It's a strategy of statecraft that's built on concrete, steel, and a whole lot of capital. And the Belt and Road Initiative is the absolute crown jewel of this strategy. China went from being the factory of the world to being the banker of the world. It's funding this gigantic network of ports, high-speed rail, pipelines, physically connecting dozens of countries right into its economic orbit. Now, this isn't charity, let's be clear. This is infrastructure diplomacy. It's about creating economic ties, and with them, strategic leverage on a truly global scale. But here's the thing. The dragon isn't flying alone. It's got allies. A really powerful coalition known as BRICS has emerged, and they are openly, and I mean openly, challenging the Western-dominated global order. You could almost think of them as the rebel alliance in this whole imperial endgame. And here's the crucial point, the part that might really surprise you. The world's economic center of gravity? It has already shifted. This isn't some future prediction. This is reality, right now. If you look at GDP based on purchasing power parity, which is a fairer way to compare economies, the combined economic output of the BRICS nations has now officially surpassed the G7. The economic power is there. So what's their game plan? Well, their mantra is simple. We're done with Western-dominated financial rules. They've created their own development bank as an alternative to the World Bank and the IMF. They're actively trying to de-dollarize global trade by using their own currencies. And in a huge strategic move, they're expanding, bringing in energy heavyweights like Saudi Arabia and the UAE. That's a direct play to reshape global finance. All of this sets the stage for a totally new kind of global rivalry. This isn't just about two countries anymore. This is a clash between two fundamentally different visions for how the world should operate. So on one side, you've got the Eagles model, liberal democracy, free markets, and alliances built on shared values. And on the other side, the Dragons model, state-led capitalism, strict governance, and alliances built purely on mutual economic interest.
It's a real contest between soft power and infrastructure diplomacy, and more, nations around the world are being asked to pick a side.
And this clash is playing out in a few key arenas right now. You've got the tech wars, a fierce battle over AI and especially semiconductors. In finance, there's this slow motion effort to move the world away from the US dollar. And in diplomacy, you see the US trying to reinforce its traditional alliances, while China is making massive inroads across the global south, where a lot of leaders now see Beijing as a more reliable partner. And this is what that confrontation looks like on the ground. The Eagle is actively trying to counter, using things like export controls on critical tech and building up security pacts. The Dragon, of course, pushes right back, creating its own parallel institutions and trade deals that leave the West out. It's this strategic dance of containment and counter-containment, and it's literally reshaping the globe. So, where does all this lead? What's the end game? The sources we've looked at lay out three very different potential futures, three possible outcomes for this incredible power struggle. The first possibility is something called a cold peace. In this version of the future, we avoid a major war, which is good. But the underlying problems, all that inequality, political gridlock, and distrust, they just keep simmering under the surface. It's a world of managed decline, where a sense of stability on top just masks a deep dysfunction underneath. The second future, well, it's way more dangerous. It's hot conflict. This is where the rivalry boils over. A single miscalculation in a hotspot like the Taiwan Strait could escalate, or, as some analysis suggest, a potential conflict between the US and Iran could be the spark that lights a much, much bigger fire. This is the path where alliances snap and the sirens of war start to get very loud. But there is a third, more hopeful path. Let's call it inclusive renewal. In this future, huge shared threats, think climate change or the next pandemic, actually force the great powers to cooperate because they have no other choice. Citizen-led movements could drive reform from the bottom up, rewriting the social contract, and maybe, just maybe, kicking off a whole new era of global partnership. So, as we stand here at this historic crossroads, the ultimate question really remains. This isn't just about an eagle versus a dragon anymore. It's a showdown between two completely different models for the future of our planet. Can the eagle's model of open, accountable democracy adapt and lead again? Or will the dragon's, more authoritarian, state-directed model prove to be more effective in this new century? The real question is, which one of those futures are we building right now?